So this miracle of the calming of the storm appears in 3 of the 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark and Luke. So it's an important event in the life of Christ. Through this miracle, Jesus is revealing his true identity as the Son of God. God alone has the power to control the wind and the seas, and so by demonstrating his authority over nature, Jesus is showing his disciples that he's not a creature like them. He is the creator of the entire universe. He is God become man. In the early 4th century, a priest of Alexandria named Arius denied the divinity of Christ. He believed Jesus was the highest of all creatures, but a creature nonetheless. His famous motto was, "There was a time when Jesus was not." In other words, he was saying that Jesus was not the eternal Son of God. But St. Athanasius, who was the Bishop of Alexandria, along with many other church fathers, rose up against this heresy to argue that Jesus was in fact the uncreated eternal Son of the Father. And as a result, this was declared a dogma of the Church at the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. And in his reasoning, St. Athanasius quotes this Gospel passage and the stilling of the storm as evidence of Jesus' identity as the creator of all things who became man. By rebuking the wind and calming the sea, Jesus shows that he has authority over all of the created universe. He reveals to his disciples through his actions and by his words that he is not a creature but the creator. And St. Augustine also quotes this passage in one of his sermons to demonstrate the moral meaning or the moral sense of this miracle. Each of us is like a boat on the sea, being tossed about by the waves of the world which attack us from all sides. All we have to do is look at the world around us, all the evil that exists. Even in our own country of Ireland, the land of saints and scholars, we can see how as a nation we've turned our back on God. And there's many other things which can cause us to become afraid and to lose faith, such as all the poverty and sickness in our world. Nearly every house has someone, a family member, who's seriously ill. Good people who are suffering from life-changing illnesses, many of them terminal. And it can be easy to feel overwhelmed and fall into despair. And like the disciples on the boat, we can cry out, "Lord, do you not care?" But Jesus has not abandoned or deserted us. He's right there with us on the boat, in our fear and in our pain and suffering. And he asks us the same question he puts to the disciples in today's Gospel. Why are you afraid? Have you no faith? Without faith, we're like the disciples on the boat. When storms or trials come our way, we're frightened and scared. But with faith, we're like Jesus asleep in the stern. Even though pain and suffering may come our way, there's a peace and a calmness in our heart and soul that can only come from knowing that Christ is with us. No storm, no matter how big, can ever overcome the power of Christ's presence alive in our hearts. If Jesus lives in our hearts, we have nothing to fear from this world. The only thing that matters in this life is the salvation of our soul, and therefore the only thing we need fear in this life is sin. As Jesus told his disciples, "Do not fear those who can kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather fear him who can destroy both soul and body in hell." So even with all of the chaos in our world, all the madness going on around us, all the evil and sin that exists, and all the sickness and suffering that afflicts so many, if we have faith and trust in Jesus Christ, peace and joy will reign in our hearts. St. Augustine says that fear is the result of forgetting that we are temples of the Holy Spirit and that Christ resides in our hearts. So we need to remind ourselves of this every day. We are not alone. Christ is always with us, and He alone has the power to calm the waves and storms that we encounter every day in our life. We now profess our faith by reciting together the Creed.